I'd like to welcome you all today and thank you for coming out to celebrate my mother's retirement. When I asked my mom what she wanted for her retirement, she said, a concert. Even if I'm the only one in attendance, and look at this crowd. So that's why we're here today. She has picked some of her favorite music, and we're going to tell some stories about her 46-year ministry. Now, it's impossible to talk about 46 years of ministry with all the music in a short time, so I promise to have you out of here in about 4 hours. Just kidding. We hope it'll be about an hour and a half, and we hope you'll stay till the end, where we'll invite anyone who's ever sung with Kay or has wanted to come up here and sing her favorite, and probably your favorite, Holy Is He. I want to ask that you please turn your cell phones off or to silent. We want to begin today with an introit that has become a standard among the Mountain View Choir. This has been sung all over the world, at many funerals and weddings, church services, and even restaurants and bars. If you have sung Surely the Presence on any of these occasions with us, I invite you to please stand where you are and sing with me. Thank you. You can be seated. We are in a house of worship, and worship through music is what my mom does best. Sorry, it didn't stop. Look how many people just now lifted their voices to sing praises to God. God is worthy of our praise, and we want our song to be a sweet, sweet sound in his ear. And now, Kay's good friend and longtime loyal choir member, Phil Lemberg, will open us up in a sung prayer.
I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you, oh my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you, oh my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
I'd like to welcome two people now who are very special to my mom. They were with her through the bulk of her career. Please welcome Paula Valley and Ralph Meredith.
Kay Randolph. Kay Randolph. 46 years. She outlasted both of us.
But we have to go back even before 46 years ago. We need to talk about how she became interested in music. Kay had a very musical family, and I'm told her grandmothers liked to take credit for her musical talent. But if you heard them sing, especially Harriet, you would know that wasn't true. We can honestly say that her talent came from her father and mother, Earl and Joan Kittle.
Kay's earliest memories of music were when she would sit in church at Orangewood Presbyterian between her father, Earl, and her grandfather, Earl Sr. Listening to the music that they sang brought her much comfort. Music was always in her home growing up. They were always singing in the car in three-part harmony. They had musical parties at their home. Who does that? As a child, Kay and the family moved quite often, but wherever they were, they always found a church to attend and became a part of the music program.
Of all of the music that was played and sung in her home, the music that touched her soul the most came from her father and his violin. Earl was a very accomplished violinist. He was the first violinist in his high school orchestra where he was teased for playing the violin. So he joined the football team. The teasing stopped immediately.
And Earl was a pretty big guy. I know I paid attention when every Sunday he would make a show of looking at his watch the second I started to preach. 15 minutes and he expected it to be over. If it wasn't, I heard about it later.
Violin music has always been a special part of Kay's life. One of her favorite violin pieces is Meditation from Thais by Massenet. Kay has a recording of Earl playing this from 1950, and she listens to it in her car. And now friend Lon will play this piece for us.
Thank you, Lon and Marilyn. 1971, some of you remember that year, I know, marked the start of the digital age when the first microprocessor was invented.
1971, Disney World opened in Florida. The cost of a gallon of gas was 40 cents, and a postage stamp cost 8 cents. And one of the top movies was Fiddler on the Roof. And Kay and Charlie met. They were both part of the cast of Fiddler on the Roof.
The top song that year was Three Dog Night, Joy to the World. And Carolyn Davidson, creator of the Nike swoosh, was paid $35 for the design. And a little coffee shop named Starbucks opened in Pike's Place Market in Seattle.
In 1970, Kay's family joined Glass and Garden Church. It was a Dutch Reformed church, which was very important to the family. They felt right at home. In 1971, when Kay was just 19 years old, the pastor, Floyd Galouse, called her into his office and asked if she would consider becoming the music director. She was a piano major at ASU at the time, and when she told her dad, Earl, about the job opportunity, he said, "Change your major today and take that job."
So Kay changed her major to choral conducting with a minor in vocal performance. Pastor Galouse took a chance on a 19-year-old and started a young woman on a path to a wonderful, long, productive career in music ministry. Here to talk about her start at Glass and Garden is a longtime friend, Dick Fossen, who was a member of Glass and Garden and also sings in the choir at Mountain View. Dick?
Thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Paula. Long time no see. Oh, excuse me just a minute. Is one box enough, Kay? Do you folks see this picture? Look at those glasses. And Charlie with hair, where did it go, Charlie? Wow. Well, where do I begin? Please go back with me to Glass and Garden days. I have known this lady since she was Kay Kittle. That's over 46 years. Jennifer wants me to talk about 5 minutes. Now that's impossible. Okay, on with Glass and Garden. Kay and Charlie were dating at that time, as we've heard, and they were married in October of 1972. Later, they became the youth advisors for the senior high group at Glass and Garden. My son Rick was a member of that group. And Kay had this idea for a fundraiser. Buy chocolate bars. Well, my son spent a lot of his college tuition buying chocolate bars and took them over to her house, and they shared them together. The theory was that Kay needed to gain weight while she was pregnant. I know that today is about Kay Randolph, but in the past, she has had certain people sing solos. Her daughter Jennifer, Dania, Phil, Hugh Edgman, and others. Well, most of you do not know this, but she let me sing a solo one time. It was Why Me, Lord? Wow. Well, and you didn't hear it. But I may not be very important, or maybe even not all that good, but how many people do you know that had Kay and Charlie Randolph as backup singers? Now, I don't normally spread rumors, but did you know that Kay Randolph has directed 3 choirs? It does not appear that this lady can hold a job. Many of you don't know this, but last Wednesday, Last Wednesday, Kay Randolph thanked each member of her choir. Each member. Well, today, Kay Randolph, I thank you.
Hello, my name is James May, and Kay and Charlie called me Jimmy. So that's what most everybody from Mountain View calls me, or Uncle Jimmy in the case of Josh and Jen. We met at Saguaro High School in 1969. So let's see, that's 49 years ago? I have known Kay and Charlie possibly longer than anybody here except for family. It's a long time. Even back in high school, I was studying to be a concert pianist. But in meeting Kay and Charlie, doing choir stuff in school, and of course parties at Joan and Earl's house, the love I had for musical theater was able to blossom. Those parties were great fun, and we still talk about them to this day. I won't tell the story of Earl's mother putting the ice cream on the head. After singing so many show tunes, we decided to write our own musical. Why not? And that musical was called Life is What You Make It. Kay wrote the lyrics, Charlie wrote the script, and I composed all the music. This was in 1970 and 71. Kay and Charlie had the leads, and we even gave my brother Dave another lead. When you write your own show, you can do whatever you want. We had so much fun doing this. Kay would call me and we would talk for hours, coming up with new ideas, always laughing a lot. And this is aside from my speech. In my yearbook, both junior and senior year, Kay wrote 4 pages. Definitely most important for me. One of our choir mates at Saguaro was our dear friend Stacy Van Dyke, and we miss her dearly. She is Dick Van Dyke's daughter. She made Dick aware of our show, and he asked us if he could direct it. What do you think we said? So we had to unhire the director we had asked. That was the chairman of Saguaro's Fine Arts Department, and the choir director. That didn't go over so well. But what an incredible time we had to have the wit and wisdom of Dick Van Dyke guiding us. We'll never forget that day at Saguaro when we were backstage taking pictures. We were 17 years old. Students, friends, and parents all got so much out of it. We got onto the radar of local news. We were even front page picture in the Phoenix Gazette. Does anyone remember the Phoenix Gazette? I still can't remember the content of that article due to the fact that our hair was so incredibly huge. Especially you. So you have to remember this was 1971. Many of our kids, friends of ours we knew, were protesting the Vietnam War or smoking pot. But we were recognized as being the good kids. And we got recognized as being the good kids first by Governor Jack Williams. Does anybody remember Governor Jack? Not many. And then Barry Goldwater found out about our show, and eventually Richard Nixon. And President Nixon wrote us a beautiful letter, which we have framed and on the wall. They have the original, I have a copy. Well, that show was a real highlight of our times then, but we had other great times, tubing down the Salt River, getting burned to a crisp. We didn't even know it was harmful. We do now. We all piled in cars and went to the Pioneer Drive-In. Does anyone remember that place down on Pima and McKellips, was it? We ate popcorn and drank lemonade because we were the good kids. And then there was the time when a good friend of ours was getting married, and she asked Charlie, Kay, Kim, and I to sing Amazing Grace at her wedding. It all started out great. It was a cappella, no accompaniment. But near the end of the first verse, someone got off. and we were standing shoulder to shoulder, someone started to shake from giggling. Well, that turned into convulsive laughter by 3 of us. Kay continued on and finished the song as a solo, and the rest of us were crying and shaking violently with laughter. She didn't speak to us for a week. As I mentioned before, I was studying to be a classical pianist, even though we did many shows at Saguaro, including our own. But I went on to Northwestern University to pursue classical, and as life turned out, my entire career was doing Broadway shows. You just never know where life is going to lead you. Well, during high school, Kay and Charlie especially loved one piece that I played. And now they have asked me to repeat this performance from 1970. It's called Gardens in the Rain by Debussy. I think you will clearly hear a violent thunderstorm, which we could use here about now in the Phoenix area. I'm happy to play this for you, Kay and Charlie, and I wish you wonderful, happy, and healthy retirement. I love you guys.
One of Kay's talents, one of her many talents, is writing music and lyrics. And in 1980, on Christmas Eve, she had a special moment where she sang a song she wrote, Precious Little Jesus, with her 3.5-year-old daughter, Jenny. Jenny stood on a chair to reach the microphone, but it was clear that Kay had passed on her musical genes to Jenny.
In January of 1982, Kay and Charlie were involved in a new church plant in North Scottsdale, Hope Community Church, where Kay served as music director for 5 years. Several families went from Glass and Garden to Hope with Kay and Charlie, including the Fossons, the Squires, and the Werfels. In 1987, Earl and their friend Margaret Snell started attending Mountain View Presbyterian and began singing in the choir. Earl found out that we were looking for a new choir director. Kay was already in the process of applying for a job at La Casa de Cristo Lutheran Church. Earl encouraged her to apply at Mountain View as well, as did Polly Chapman, who was Kay's partner in Do Re Mi. In fact, I think I remember Polly saying to me, "If you don't hire Kay, you're dumber than I think you are." Ultimately, Kay was offered a position at both of the churches. The job at La Casa de Cristo was a bigger job, a much more established church, and would have paid her more, but her father strongly encouraged her to take the job at Mountain View. Thanks, Earl. And she never looked back.
On an April evening 25 years ago, the phone in my kitchen rang, and it was Ralph Meredith. I knew of Ralph, but I didn't know him, and he called to see if I'd be interested in possibly submitting my resume. They were looking for a part-time associate pastor. So I hadn't really been thinking about getting back to the ministry, but the call intrigued me. So that next Sunday, Ray and I and the boys decided, let's check out this church, Mountain View. So we took our places. We were a little early. We took our places in the sanctuary, and I ended up sitting next to a very gracious woman who warmly welcomed us. She introduced herself as Dorothy Snyder. And then she explained that Sherwin is the organist. And just then, he began his fabulous prelude, and I'm just swelling with exuberance over the music. As he came towards the end of the prelude, some of the choir members started walking in to the choir loft. And more, and more, and more, and more, until the loft was filled. And they sang Surely the Presence, and Ray looked at me, I looked at Ray, and 2 days later I submitted my resume at Mountain View. It was a glorious, glorious day of worship and music.
Hey, wait a minute, Paula. I think I remember that Sunday, and I think you said that was the best sermon you'd ever heard in your life. One of the best decisions that Kay made at Mountain View was to hire Danya Tiller as her bell director. Danya's job soon turned into associate director of music. Danya and Kay have developed a beautiful and long-lasting relationship and friendship, and Kay truly considers her a daughter.
Kay and Charlie had the honor of traveling to Hawaii for Danya and Bill's wedding in 2013. We all have appreciated Danya's superior musical gifts, but one of Kay's favorite things about Danya is her crystal clear, beautiful voice.
Before I sing, I do want to say something about Kay. All these people are taller than me. Okay. I wrote this down because I didn't trust myself. Whether you have known Kay for 10 years or 10 months or 10 minutes. One thing that you know about Kay is that she loves people. All of us in this room know that she loves us individually. Kay has been a minister of music for many, many years, and through all of her musical accolades, the thing that I know to be the most true about Kay is the word minister. I've never known someone so quick to drop everything that she's doing to help someone who needs her. She's been there for those of us who've been anxious or worried about family members or friends struggling with pain and trouble. She mourns and cries with us when we lose our husband, our child, our mother. She's gathered up food and money and supplies when our house is robbed or burns, or when we're facing difficult medical diagnoses and treatment. She visits, she calls, she texts, she hugs and loves whenever we are at our most vulnerable. But she's also been there to celebrate with us when we have joy. She rejoices with us when we gain a new member to our family or get a great new job. She thanks God with us when a medical or family crisis passes or our friends who are lost find their spirit again. This is a part of Kay that will always be a part of Kay. And although she may be retiring as a minister of music, she will never retire as a minister and friend to all of us in this room. Master, thou callest, I gladly obey. Only direct me, and I'll find the way. Teach me the mission appointed for me. What is my
My mom has had the privilege of working with some big Christian choral music composers. Among them are Alan Petker, Brad Ellingbo, Bob Krogstad, John Rudder, and Mark Hayes. The one that has left the most lasting impression, and she still has a friendship with today, is Mark Hayes. Kay, as we all know, loves gospel music and spirituals, and one of her favorite arrangers of this type of music is Mark. She hired Mark in 2006 to come to Mountain View and do a workshop with her choir. This was the beginning of their friendship. Several years later, Mark invited the Mountain View Choir to sing his new Requiem under his direction at Lincoln Center. Mark has also been commissioned by the choir over the years to write pieces to honor Ralph Meredith, Sherwin Snyder, Marilyn Cradle, and my mom. Mountain View has once again asked him to write a piece in celebration of her retirement. When Mark asked me what we wanted the text to be, I really had to think. How do you pick text that reflects my mom? So I thought, well, what have I learned from her? Now, I've said this before, but I never wanted to be a choir director. And look at me now. But I don't believe that you can get a proper degree in directing a church choir. Everything I've learned from my mom by observing her and being in her choirs. I'll share with you the two most important things I've learned from her, and I'm sure you have too. Mom teaches to sing from your heart. I've worked with many, many choir directors who work really hard on vowels and making sure the sound is blended and beautiful. My mom does that, but what she emphasized the most is the words that we sing. After all, that's what's most important as Christian musicians. If we are not singing from our heart, what's the point? The second thing I've learned from her is to be a shepherd for our flocks, to nurture that flock and to help them to take care of each other, like Dania said so beautifully, be a minister to them. To love one another, support one another, pray for each other, and most importantly, love the Lord and show that through our music. Well, that was it. These two gifts she taught me are summed up perfectly in Colossians 3:16. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. That's the scripture we chose for Mark to write this song. It honors her perfectly. It is written for solo voice and 2 violins and is entitled The Source of Our Song, and this is the premiere of it. Let Christ's word have its home in your heart. May it dwell in you most richly. May you teach and encourage everyone in the wisdom of our Lord. May your heart be full and your mind renewed by the promises in God's word. There is treasure there for you to share. So let your voice be heard. Sing songs and hymns and songs inspired by the Spirit. Make melody to God with grace in your heart, overflowing with thanksgiving. Sing songs and hymns and songs inspired by the Spirit. Make melody to God with has been shown to you. We are God's children, everyone, made in the image divine. May we shine the light of God in us to every place and time. Sing psalms and hymns and songs inspired by the Spirit. Make melody to God with grace in your heart, overflowing with thanksgiving. Sing psalms and hymns and songs inspired by the Spirit. Make melody to God with grace in your heart. For God is the source of our song. For God is the source of our song, of our song, of our song.
As almost everyone has said, most of all of Kay's precious relationships and friendships are with people that she has met through church, brought to her through church music. Here's one of those stories when Mark Hayes, who we just heard about and who just wrote what Jennifer beautifully sang, when he needed a violinist for a concert and Kay didn't have the name of one or someone who could help us out, she asked Marilyn Cradle, and she gave her the name of Lon Cho from the Phoenix Symphony before leaving on a trip. Kay called him and was a little concerned since she had never met him. He called Kay 30 minutes before the concert, explaining to her that he was lost. He didn't know how to get there. Now, if you've ever seen a frustrated, red-haired choir director, she was a little concerned, to say the least. Lon finally arrived in time, ran in the door, and played, just as he always does, beautifully. Kay was so overwhelmed by his musicality and talent that she hired him over and over again at Mountain View. He and his son Joseph immediately became part of Kay's family. Eventually, Lon introduced Kay to his girlfriend Joy and her two sons, Alan and Ivan. Joy, lo and behold, was just as talented as Lon was. And in 2013, Lon and Joy were married at Mountain View. The choir sang at their wedding, and Kay and her family helped serve at the reception. One of Kay's favorite pieces that Lon and Joy perform is called All That Thrills My Soul by Thoreau Harris, and Kay has asked them to play that this afternoon.
We know that Kay loves gospel music, but she also loves good old Gaither-type gospel, and 4 of her favorite singers are here to sing some for you. First, Dania and her husband, Bill Elliott, and Jessica Doney. And second will be friend, choir member, and Charlie's boss, Hugh Edgman.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Ooh.
Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Lord, in prayer, can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Jesus knows my every weakness.
Take it to the Lord in prayer.
You talk about a brown pair of shoes and a world of tuxedos. That's what I feel like today. You know, when Kay asked me to do this a couple of months ago, I thought we'd find a bar and throw down a couple of glasses of wine and sing a few tunes around the piano. But anyway, you know, I got to say this. I've sang a lot, but it's all been in the wrong places. And the first solo that I ever sang in church was Mountain View due to Kay Randolph. Bless your heart. I love you. Thank you. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I'm so tired, so weak, so worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me on. When my way groweth drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me on. Hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me on.
Over the years, Kay has worked with several organists, accompanists. Her very first organist at Glass and Garden was 85-year-old Matt Sloan. Following him was Betsy Carey, who played several times at Mountain View and assisted at services there. At Hope, she worked with Joy Rattery, and at Mountain View, she had the privilege of working with Peg Hover, Roger Mann, Sherwin Snyder, Marilyn Cradle, Larry Eisel, and now Jackie Huber. Marilyn Cradle has played some fabulous piano solos over the years, and now she will share one more with us this afternoon.
One of the most rewarding things Kay has been able to do in her career is take her choir on tours. Nationally, the choir has been to Lake Tahoe 3 times, Carnegie Hall twice, and Lincoln Center once. They've also paid a visit to Rainbow Acres and even went on a cruise with some choir members. Internationally, Kay has taken the choir on 7 trips abroad: England and Scotland, France, Germany and Austria, Italy, Spain, Germany again, and this summer, Ireland. They've been blessed to be able to sing in places like Notre Dame, the Vatican, and other notable cathedrals. One unforgettable memory I have was in Austria on that choir tour in 2001. Kay's dad had just passed away the year before this tour. Now, when we gave concerts, sometimes it was in the streets, sometimes in a bar or a lounge somewhere. But when we were in a cathedral, Kay rarely had a set order of songs. She kind of would read the crowd, and then she'd tell us what we're going to sing based on how the Spirit moved her. It was a very dreary, wet day that day in Austria when during a concert we were singing, but it's one of those situations where people are coming in, touring the cathedral, not really paying too much attention about what's going on. She spontaneously pointed to Jenny and said, "Sparrow." Jenny came out of the choir and sang Kay's favorite, "His Eye is on the Sparrow." Jenny had sung this at Earl's funeral the year before, and this song has become very special to their family. As I said, people were milling about, touring the cathedral. When Jenny started singing, the crowd hushed. People turned to see where was this voice coming from. And as she began to sing, it had been raining 3 days. The sun literally broke through the gorgeous stained glass windows. It was unforgettable. Jenny has sung this song on every tour, at several funerals, and even in Africa. His eye is on the sparrow.
Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely, longing for heaven and home, when Jesus is my Savior, my constant friend is He. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. For His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. Let not your heart be troubled. His tender word I hear, and
As we've just heard, the musical genes run deep in Kay's family, just as they do in Lon and Joy's family. Alan and Ivan, Joy's sons, have become very accomplished violinists for their young ages of 15 and 13. When Lon became a U.S. citizen, Kay and some of the other choir members went to his citizenship ceremony. The judge ordered them to stand up, wave their flags, and sing Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. And Kay has asked Lon to play her son Josh's favorite Yankee Doodle in honor of this day. But first, let's listen to a quartet by Lon, Joy, Alan, and Ivan.
There are two people who have been a huge part of Kay's music ministry. These two have sung in every single choir she's directed, and they haven't missed many Sundays. These two people are her mother, Joan Kittle, and her husband, Charlie. Not only has Joan been in every choir, but she has been a wonderful supporter and sounding board for Kay.
And Charlie. What do we say about Charlie? He is truly her rock. From lugging equipment and music around to singing in the choir and playing bells, to putting up with late-night phone calls from choir members in need and interruptions while on vacation as part of Kay's ministry, to breaking out into Ain't Got Time to Die anytime Kay tells him to his most recent role as sound and lighting operator at Mountain View. Charlie is a steadfast anchor in Kay's life and ministry.
Over Kay's 46 years of music ministry, Kay has accomplished many memorable things. At Mountain View alone,
Kay has participated in over 250 funerals and more than 100 weddings as a soloist.
the choir has sung at several weddings, including her own daughter Jenny's wedding, and the weddings of Courtney Hibbler-Lohman, Joan Kabbalah, Tristan and Eric Miller, Lon and Joy, Stephen Adams, Jeannie Brooks, Hazel and Bob Sedler, and others.
Kay has sung for over 50 baptisms, including her granddaughter Molly Jo, producing 4 choir CDs played all over the world, even by a DJ in Sweden, 3 Lake Tahoe trips, 7 international trips,
2 appearances at Carnegie Hall and 1 at Lincoln Center in New York, Christmas caroling at the malls. Who can forget the flash mob singing the Hallelujah chorus at Fashion Square Mall that attracted so many people they almost had to close the mall down?
Kay was the musical director of 11 Broadway shows, 2 coffee houses, and concerts at the Orpheum in downtown Phoenix, Mesa Arts Center, and Scottsdale Center for the Arts.
Kay directed performances of Rutter's Requiem, Handel's Messiah, Rutter's Magnificat, Vivaldi's Gloria, Mark Hayes' Requiem and Te Deum, several original Christmas presentations, and a premiere performance of their own Eric Miller's cantatas, He Chose the Cross, and Not Just a Babe in Bethlehem. And the choir made the front page of the newspaper for singing for a duke.
Kay, under your tenure, the choir raised over $70,000 for mission and ministries inside and outside of the church. Choir members have personally given money to help other members of the choir and the church. A scholarship was started in Kay's honor at Daystar University in Nairobi, Kenya, and Kay was privileged to travel to Daystar to present the scholarship to its first recipient.
Ralph and I say thank you for all the work, all the time, all the effort you put forth, creating music and nurturing your choir, giving us unique travel opportunities to let our hair down in Broadway shows. Every person here has been enriched in their life because of you.
When Paula and I were in the pulpit, or any of the other ministers you worked for throughout the years, you and your choir ministered to us each Sunday. We appreciate all the music that touched our souls and moved us closer to God's presence. Thank you.
My mom is always a blessing. She was always blessing others through her spirit and through song. We'd like to start our wrap-up, we're almost done, today by singing a couple of blessings on her. I'd like to ask the treble clefs to come up. The treble clefs, not treble. My mom sings a special baptism song to babies, and if you've ever experienced it, you've been blessed. How many people have had her sing that song for a child or a grandchild of yours or someone you know? Lots of you. Tom Greenwald had the idea to change the words to this song and sing it to her, so we did, and my Uncle Jimmy arranged it so beautifully for 4-part men. So here is our version of Masterpiece.
Before you had a name or opened up your eyes, God had a plan for you so big and bold. He wanted you to be a minister through song, a teacher of His word for young and old. And like a shepherd you have led, and by your music we are fed, and we will miss your face each time we sing. You breathed in us a song, and shared with us your heart, and we thank you for the love you always bring. You are a masterpiece, and from our heart you made us sing, and we are blessed, so blessed, by the music that you bring, and we're so glad that God has given you to us. You're a gift from God. You are a masterpiece. Before you came to us, you started your career. Life so filled with music and with song. God was grooming you, so special for this place, an honor to your name and family. A love of red, white, and blue, of course, and gospel too, and the little ones that love to sing for you. You breathed in us a song, and shared with us your heart, and we thank you for the love you always bring. You are a masterpiece, and from our hearts you make us sing, and we are blessed, so blessed, by the music that you bring, and we're so glad that God has given you to us. You're a gift from God. You are a masterpiece.
While we know your music will continue, it will certainly live on in our hearts and through me and generations to come. My daughter Molly already has it in her, and you put it there. You've given her that gift. This now is our prayer for you and Dad as you begin this new chapter of your life. May your life song sing of God's amazing your feet be firm and steady in this race. When the world reflects your image through a mirrored facade, may you always see your beauty through the perfect eyes of God. This I pray, this I pray, that you'd have God's best, be strong and blessed. While your arms are empty, may your heart be full, and the mountains that you face seem possible. When the ground is dry, I pray that you'd have rain. And when the music starts to vanish, you would sing on through your pain. This I pray, this I pray, this I pray, this I pray, have God's best. Oh, be strong and blessed. And when God's voice is silent, you'd hold tighter to his hand and trust he'll lead you safely on the journey he has planned. And if threadbare faith holds stillborn dreams, I pray the hurt would be redeemed, to hold on tightly to the Savior, grow in faith and never waver. I pray your heart is warm when life can be so cold, and when scoffers mock your journey, you'll be bold. I pray for food on your table in times when it's lean, and that you share your meal with others, so God's goodness can be seen. This I pray, 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 that you have God's best, be strong and blessed, that you have God's best, be strong and blessed. I'd like to thank some people for making today possible. First of all, for Valley Presbyterian Church for hosting this concert, and to Mountain View for supporting that. I thank Russ, who's helped us with sound, and Jacob at the last minute, my chosen nephew up there, who has helped with the PowerPoint. And all the performers, I thank you so much for performing today. And Ralph and Paula, thank you so much for being here as well. And now it's your turn. I invite you up. If you've ever sung with us, Holy Is He, or if you know the anthem, or if you've sung with Kay or want to, we do have copies of the music if you don't have one. We're going to sing Holy Is He, and then have a prayer, and then the Lord bless you and keep you.
Great is
Will you please stand for our closing prayer and benediction, and then remain standing for our choral benediction. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-loving God, you have called us to be your people.
You have called us to worship. You have inspired music in the community, words to be written, music to be composed, notes to be played, and precious people to sing.
This day we praise you for the creative gifts you bestowed upon your servant Kay Randolph, and for the blessing her 46 years of music ministry. Grant her in retirement the joy and satisfaction of knowing that through her gift of music, many hearts were touched and faith was deepened.
Stir us to use our talents and voices for your glory. Strengthen our faith through song. Receive, O God, the music and those who make it as a response to your work in Jesus Christ. This we pray in his name, life without end. Amen.
Amen.